Okay, welcome to today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining us to discuss how to reassure consumers on produce safety. My name is Liz Shaw, and I am a registered dietitian nutritionist and board member with the Alliance for Food and Farming. Today you'll hear from Sarah Long and Dr. Sylvia Klinger. Sarah is the president of Long Research Consultants. She founded Long Research Consultants in 2011 after 16 years of work in public opinion research. During her career, Sarah has conducted extensive research for trade groups in over 150 corporations, including 15 in the top 100 Fortune 500 companies. Recent projects have explored a wide range of industries and issues such as energy, the environment, taxes, community issues, product stewardship, regulatory affairs, health and healthcare, agriculture, pharmaceutical, biotech, and financial services. Sarah's work has been cited and published in both mainstream media as well as peer-reviewed journals, including the Journal of the American Medical Association. Sylvia is an award-winning author and global nutrition entrepreneur. Dr. Sylvia Klinger is the founder of Hispanic Food Communications, a nutrition communications and culinary consulting company. It's her Hispanic background that has fueled her passion for nutrition, which has led her to empower and encourage those in her community through the foods they make in their kitchens. It has been through the study of nutrition and her experiences growing up in a Hispanic home that Sylvia has realized the power nutrition has, the power to glue people together no matter who they are or where they are from. Sylvia is also a member of the AFF Management Board. To discover what consumers find the most concerning, as well as what information effectively reassures consumers on the safety of both organic and conventional fruits and vegetables, the Alliance for Food and Farming conducted a comprehensive consumer research project. You'll now hear the findings of this research from Sarah, as well as how to apply these findings to your work from Dr. Klinger. Please ask any questions you have at any point during this webinar in the chat box, and we'll answer them at the end. Now, Sarah, take it away.
Thanks so much. Next slide. Just a quick glimpse at the methodology of this survey. This is a nationwide survey of 1,000 grocery shoppers conducted just this past spring, so it's a very fresh data. This was a web-based survey, and the margin of error for a sample size of 1,000 is plus or minus 3%. In order to define grocery shoppers, we screened for folks who do at least half of the household grocery shopping. So that's who we're talking to here. Next slide. And just as kind of an overview for us, we asked people to start how much of their grocery shopping they do online, and 45% said none of it. You can see below that there's really quite a range from those doing, the least amount up to a quarter of their grocery shopping online is 22%, 10% doing 3/4 to almost all of their grocery shopping online. Next. Most of these folks are shopping in regular traditional grocery stores. 67% say grocery store is their primary source for purchasing fresh fruits and vegetables. 21% are shopping at a big box store, a Target or Costco type store. 6% primarily get their fresh fruits and vegetables from a farmer's market. 3% from a local farm, a produce stand, or a CSA. And 3% from a natural or organic food store. Next. We asked folks how often they purchase fresh fruits and vegetables, and 75% told us that they make fresh produce purchases at least once a week or more. The plurality, 40%, purchase their fresh produce about once a week. Next. The survey starts off by asking what folks think are the most important factors as they're shopping in terms of selecting fresh fruits and vegetables. Each of these items is listed, it was rated on a scale of 1 to 7. So these are not their open-ended responses. This is a list we presented to respondents in the survey, and we asked them to rate the importance of each of these items, and quality or freshness or appearance is of course the most important thing on the list. 92% say that's very or extremely important. Of course, if it doesn't look like it's great quality, you don't buy it. Similarly, taste and flavor. It has to be something that they like or want to eat, or their family will enjoy the taste or flavor. Nutritional value and health benefits, just below that, 80% saying that that's one of the most important factors. Cost is also very important. So those top tier things, freshness, taste, nutritional benefit, that's why you're buying fresh produce. It has to look like the quality is appropriate. You have to want to eat it, and you see a nutritional benefit. Beyond that, the most important criteria in terms of where selection breaks off, cost is the number one thing. So 78% say cost is very or extremely important. Just 9% say that's not important. You can see we kind of drop off down the list from there. Pesticide residues are important to 76%, 12% say that's not important to them. Risks of foodborne illness, statistically equal with that, 75% say that's an important consideration, 13% say it's not important. And we're here lower with GMO, whether it's GMO, 58% say that's very important. If it's locally grown, 53% say that's very important. And just 43% say whether it's organic is very important to them. 38% say it's not important to them that it's organic. Similarly, just over a quarter say GMO and locally grown are not important to them. Next. The key focus here, of course, is on produce safety. So we ask folks whether they agree or disagree with the statement, fresh fruits and vegetables sold in the US are safe to eat. Just over 2/3 agree with that statement, a very small number, 5% disagree with that, and the remainder are undecided. They're just not sure. 18% say they don't know. These numbers are very consistent with our previous tracking of this question in 2016, when 76% said they agree that fresh fruits and vegetables sold in the US are safe to eat. Next. So next we test some of the statements that may be made about the safety of fresh fruits and vegetables, and it's important to be clear about some definitions as we all talk about some of these things in casual language that we understand and might not be clear to consumers. So just a couple of definitions as they relate to the statements consumers are about to see in the next phase of the survey. First, we mentioned that when we use the word produce, we're referring to fresh fruits and vegetables. A definition of organic is included, which states this refers to USDA certified organic produce, which can be called organic if it's certified to have been grown without using materials prohibited by the USDA organic program. These materials include most synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. And then additionally, a definition for conventional, clarifying that this refers to all produce that is not organically grown. Conventional produce may be grown with EPA approved and regulated synthetic or organic fertilizers and pesticides. Next. So with those definitions in place, we test a series of statements that may be made about food safety. They are presented in the survey in randomized order to reduce any order effect bias in testing these statements. They're presented here based on topic. So first, two statements on regulatory requirements. Both of these result in very high levels of consumers saying they are confident in the safety of produce sold in the US after hearing this information. So the first, For fruit and vegetable crops, the Food Safety Modernization Act includes a produce safety rule. The produce safety rule implemented science-based standards developed by the FDA for the safe growing, harvesting, and packing of fruits and vegetables. Compliance with these best practices are verified through mandatory on-farm audits. 83% agree that they are confident in the safety of fresh produce sold in the US after hearing that statement. So you can see the number who said they are not confident. 5% is the same as it was in the initial question that we asked before the statements were shown. So some of those who were previously undecided have been moved to be more confident based on hearing this information. The second one on the slide, the USDA conducts a nationally representative program that analyzes pesticide residues on foods. Over 99% of the foods tested had residues well below safety standards set by the EPA, with a third having no detectable residues at all. After hearing that, 77% agree that they are confident in the safety of produce sold in the US. Next. Here are a couple of statements about what industry is doing in terms of food safety. First, among the most important aspects of food safety is a commitment to continual improvement through research and better science. In fact, there is an industry organization called the Center for Produce Safety, dedicated to finding better ways to farm safely through new research and studies conducted in conjunction with government agencies and universities. 80% agree that they are confident in the safety of produce sold in the US after hearing that statement. And similarly, a statistically even number, 79%, are confident in produce safety after hearing the second one on this slide. Providing safe, healthy foods for consumers is always the main priority for farmers. After all, a farmer's first consumer is their own family. Next. And to follow what industry is doing, a couple of statements about what consumers can do. And this is really about washing your produce. So again, according to the federal FDA, washing fresh produce before eating is a healthful habit. You can reduce and often eliminate pesticide residues if they are present on fresh produce by washing them under running tap water. 82% are confident in the safety of produce sold in the US after hearing that statement. And again, a statistically even number, 79% are confident after hearing the second statement here. FDA recommends consumers wash all fresh produce under tap water to reduce the presence of dirt and bacteria that can cause foodborne illness. So this washing message is effective in reinforcing the confidence that we have, or that consumers have, in the safety of produce, both in terms of removing pesticide residues and in relation to pathogens, bacteria, and foodborne illness. Next. A couple of trade-off statements were also tested in this survey, and the way these trade-off questions work is that they pose two opposing views, and respondents to the survey are forced to choose one side or the other. This first one is on the Dirty Dozen list, EWG's Dirty Dozen list. The statements are presented in randomized order to respondents. So some may hear the one that says here on this slide, other people first, but I'll read them in the order that they are presented on the slide. Some people feel conventionally grown fruits and vegetables are just as safe to eat as organic because according to the USDA's pesticide data program, over 99% of foods tested have residues well below safety standards set by the EPA, with a third having no residues at all. So we tested that previously as a message, and you saw that it was very effective in reassuring confidence. But here we force people to choose between that statement and EWG's statement, and this is taken really straight from the language that they use. Other people feel organically grown fruits and vegetables are safer to eat than conventionally grown because according to EWG's Dirty Dozen list, nearly 70% of non-organic produce sold in the US contains residues of chemical pesticides. And you can see that vastly more agree, you know, when forced to choose, align with USDA's messaging that conventionally grown produce is just as safe to eat as organic, with more than a 2-to-1 ratio choosing that statement, and just 23% compared to 58% aligning with EWG's messaging. So the USDA messaging is really very effective in countering the concerns that are raised by EWG. Next. Lastly, the survey wraps up with a series of questions assessing the credibility of various sources of information on food safety topics. So the question is, how confident are you in each of the following groups when it comes to protecting food safety? They're rated on a 5-point scale, and shown here with the top of the scale as confident. 76% rate farmers. At the highest on the list, 76% are confident in farmers when it comes to protecting food safety. Just 8% lack confidence in farmers. So messaging that reinforces what farmers say about what they're doing on the farm in terms of food safety and the importance of food safety to the farmer are very well received, with consumers having a great deal of confidence in terms of the credibility associated with farmers. Next, FDA and EPA also very highly rated in terms of credibility, with 73 and 71% respectively, rating saying they're very confident in those groups in terms of food safety. Grocery stores, 68%, 13% not confident in grocery stores, so vastly more confidence than not, but you can see the numbers saying that they're not quite sure, you know, inching closer to 1 in 5 there. CDC comes in lower on the list, 68%. And we suspect that CDC is lower than FDA and EPA because people more readily associate food safety with FDA and EPA than with CDC, as well as other topics that CDC has been associated with in the news. Consumer groups down near the bottom of the list, along with restaurants. 59% say they're confident in consumer groups when it comes to protecting food safety, and 57% with restaurants. A larger number there really are not sure what the role of those two is, with nearly a quarter to over a quarter saying they don't know about the credibility of those groups. I think that's the last slide. Next. Oh, one more here. And overall, how confident are you that government regulations and other food safety efforts are working well to protect public health? 78% agree with this. So really the vast majority agree that government regulatory efforts are protecting consumers in terms of food safety. Just 9% are not confident there. Next. Lastly, some sources of information where people hear about topics related to food safety. 47% say TV news, so that is by far the largest source of information on food safety topics. 22% mention word of mouth, sources like friends and family. Then online sources follow next. Combined, you know, we have 8% news websites, 7% social media, 2% other websites. The social media numbers may look smaller than you would be expecting, so we wanted to take a look at them broken out by age. Even in the youngest age group, just 9% mention social media as their main source. What we have found in other studies is when it's a TV news show reporting an issue and they see the post on social media, they tend to call that TV news. So some of the TV news largest result there may also be TV news they're encountering online. Next. And that really was the last one. Thanks, Sylvia, to you to hear about how all of this data it can be used and implemented.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you kindly. Next. The public today, as you can see, it is bombarded with information. There is so much out there that they still trying to sieve through all the news and what's best for them, what is really more convenient for me, because that's what's all about. So there is a lot of information out there today. Next. Consumers are getting information from not only from the industry, the media, but also the science, of course, government, NGOs, family, friends. There is so many places, so many networks now where we get information every day. I mean, it wasn't, back in the day when we just pick a paper and that was all we read. But now there is just information coming from so many avenues, making it even more challenging for the consumer to see what's best for them. Next. Today's consumer too is fascinated with the past, and for somebody who's been around for many decades, I find this a little hard. But again, we bring a lot of listening ear to see what's going on. But things like ingredients that we can pronounce, such as methyl santa. I mean, I can't even pronounce some of these, and that's basically caffeine. A lot of these are ingredients that are very natural sources, yet the public doesn't know about it, and they stay and think that this is something harmful. Things also, fascinated with things that, well, I'm not going to eat it. My great grandmother wouldn't recognize it, but my great grandmother wouldn't know about broccolini, which I absolutely love. There's a lot of things that have changed for the better in today's days. Next. And I think what's best is always to, find more information about it. One of the things that I want to bring in, that all products, we are here together. We love all products, whether it's conventional or organic. We are here to love them because they both provide good nutrition and they are safe for the public, and really there should not be complicated to prepare. So we're here, with an ear that, and to tell people that, the products, wherever they come from, are good for you. And that's really one of the main things that we need to tell the public. Next. The real problem that I have found is that Americans are not really consuming the recommended servings, not even close to the recommended servings. They are not consuming enough fruits and vegetables. And as you can see in this chart here on the top pink, that's the amount of consumers that are eating at least the recommended amount of fruits and veggies, or dairy or other things. And as you can see through left on my side, fruits and vegetables, the majority of people are not consuming enough fruits and vegetables. And that, my friends, is the real problem that we have today, more than anything, that we are not really consuming enough. And like my grandma used to tell me in Spanish, like, no te preocupes por el pan que no te has comido, which means don't worry about the bread that you haven't eaten yet. And this is one of the things I tell people, when you eat like a truckload of things, then come to me to ask other questions. But first of all, we need to start consuming these fruits and vegetables for all the good reasons. Next. The Illinois Institute of Technology Center for Research for Nutrition Research, as we call it, ITT here in Illinois, published a study in September 2016 on Nutrition Today. And this was really interesting because it was looking at low-income consumers and their behavior about purchasing fruits and vegetables. And they found out that after these consumers were hearing mixed messages, especially negative messages about fruits and vegetables, and from activists saying that, you know, conventional fruits and vegetables are not good, then they stay away from everything, which is very harming for the most vulnerable people. Next. These fear tactics, you know, are really hitting the vulnerable people. And for example, in my communities where I do a lot of counseling with the Hispanic population, half of the Hispanic males have hypertension, over 50%, and almost 37% of the females have hypertension. Then diagnosed diabetes, Hispanics have higher diagnosed diabetes than non-Hispanic Blacks and non-Hispanic whites. And the leading causes of death among Hispanics, heart disease and cancer. And these are things that could be prevented and managed with more fruits and vegetables. Next. Now, I love showing this pesticide residue calculator because it really, to my patients, because it really opens their eyes to really see where, you know, where they are in the scheme of things. You can find this calculator at savefruitsandveggies.com. And I went in and I picked here strawberries. I love strawberries and I'm a female, so you can pick woman, man, and then you can pick your favorite fruit or vegetable or one that you're looking for. And it shows in here that a woman can consume 453 servings of strawberries in one day, okay, without any effects of if any of the strawberries will have even the highest levels of residue recorded by the USDA, and even still will not be harmful. So I don't know about you, I love strawberries, but I do not think I can eat not even close to 453 servings in one day. Okay, maybe in years, maybe, but so I welcome you to visit this site to really and show it to your patients as so they can see really what are the, you know, how far they are. Next, please. Now, also, I love reminding the public that thousands of studies, numerous studies, governmental agencies, respectable organizations, they still continue to demonstrate the safety of our fruits and vegetable supply here in the United States. You know, the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency here in the United States, even the European, that has also strict guidelines as well as we do. The European Environmental Agency continuously puts out statements saying that plant protection products does not have any harmful effects on human health or unacceptable influence on the environment, and such products are used sustainably. So again, you know, this is something to reassure us and to really help us understand that we are really far from any harm. I mean, we have harm. There's things that, you know, could harm us every single day, you know, getting in your car, getting on a plane, me going to Uganda, you know, or to other countries, whatever, you know. So there's things that could bring, you know, the risks that we take every day. But really, fruits and vegetables is one thing that you can be sure that it's going to bring you a tremendous amount of benefits, no matter where they come from. Next. Now, as dietitians, our role is really, as the nutrition expert, is to remain clear of bias. We all have bias, you know, the ways that we were raised, the ways that, you know, we ate as little. I mean, we come with a tremendous amount of bias, but we need to leave all that behind us, because we need to really give personal care for our customers and our clients. They deserve to have that individualized care and not based on what worked for us or for somebody else near us. So we need to debunk the myth and continue to really perpetuate the truth and the science, which with positive messages and also with most compassion, so that we can build the trust that we need to build with those consumers. Next. Now, I love showing this graph from the Center for Food Integrity, where it really brings down to how we need to really approach our consumers and clients. When I was graduating from college, it was all about the statistics, the data, hitting people, is the data, look at it's in here, it shows you, it's very clear here what's good and what's bad and whatever. But now we know that what really it makes more difference and what motivates our consumers is by sharing values, sharing our stories with the public before we share the data. It has more impact to build that trust with the consumer. Next. Also, this hierarchy of the scientific evidence, it's, I love to always bring this up because we know that most of our consumers are getting their information from newspapers, magazines, social media, TV, and a lot of times, this information is, boiled down to like, 2, 3 of people in between, and many other things in between. So we need to really tell the public that, what is really considered good data and what is really something that is being like, chewed down too many times, and maybe by then has really, the message has been distorted a little bit. And I always, in a simple words, I say good data is when it is research that has been done with different populations in different countries, different genders, different age groups, different cultures, all that, and the results are always the same. That, my friends, is good data. When we go, this research is performed with many countries, different populations, different age groups, different, woman, man, child, different age groups, and the results are always the same. That is good data, and that's data that is hard to contradict because we know that it's being done in many places and the results are still the same. Next. This is also a great chart that I came from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And I love using this chart. And I always feel like one of these days I want to make it into a poster so that I have it with me and they can read it all the time because the many messages that we get about, don't eat this food, eat this one, or this one food will kill you. Oh, these messages that are so dire and so, dangerous and too good to be true. We need to be really careful with that. And we need to remind them how to really, make these, sort through all these messages so they know what are the ones that are really the ones that are best for them and what are the things that we really need to stay away from. And I think this list really summarizes it really nicely on the messages out there that they start with some of these warnings. It's something that we should really be very careful with. Next, please. Another thing that I think is so important, and this is something that I practice not only as a practitioner in my own home with many people around me, because we know that we can do things. I mean, I know that I ran, 10 marathons, I could probably eat a pound of fudge. But should I be doing these things? Well, maybe at my age, I stay away from running marathons too often and maybe taper down to half marathons. But maybe one of these days I'll try to do one more. What the heck? But should I, that is really the question that we need to be asking ourselves. Should I, for me, for that particular person, not what's best for me, but what's best for them? And that's the question they come to me all the time. It's like, should I be eating this? Should I be doing this? What supplements should I be taking? What for me, for my own, for my age, for my gender, for everything? What is the thing that I should be doing for me? And that's what personalizes the nutrition care that we provide to those that we serve every day. We know that they can do many things, and of course they can, but it should them for themselves to, is that what they really need for themselves? And that's really the main question that I get asked all the time. And it's a question that I need to be always keep in mind, what's best for them and if they should be taking that or eating that or doing, that particular thing. Next. Now I have a few scenarios here and I want to take the first one just to kind of, go over a little bit. I'm worried about pesticides in my diet. I keep hearing that pesticides are bad. And first of all, we need to listen and to understand attentively what's been coming without saying a word. And for me as a Hispanic, that's really hard because we talk really fast and we want to say things immediately. And that's not the case. We need to listen attentively, and we need to listen to understand what is coming in, what are those fears are, so that then we can ask the questions. It's like, I can totally understand. There's a lot of messages out there. I totally understand where you're coming from and how frustrated you are about listening to all these messages and not really understanding what's best for you. And then, you go about asking the questions. What brings you to that? What brings these fears? Where did you get information? I mean, these open-ended questions, or questions that, bring discussion, but very selective questions that bring more discussion, and not to judge. We need to be not judgmental, but really attentively listening and asking the right questions, so that then we may share something that's best for them. Next. Now, thinking this differently is not about abandoning the science completely, of course, because that's really what's going to back up our information, but it's about sharing our values, our stories, and understanding where they're coming from, and then provide the research. I mean, a lot of the population that I deal with, they are, and most of the population actually, are very close, are in poverty level, if not struggling financially. And it's difficult. They think that there is no way to eat healthy, and what about, and that's a question I get asked, what things should I buy for the best optimal nutrition with the money I have for the family that I have, the amount of people I have in my household to feed. And of course, I after doing assessment, we know exactly, we tend to then together to decide what's best for them. And then, we back these things out also with the research, so that they can be assured then that what we're planning for them is going to be the best for them, and we are going to go with that, and then continue to monitor to see if there is any changes that we might need to do. But the science is there, of course, to back it up, and it has a place, but it's not at the beginning. Next. So making a real difference is about coming with a tremendous amount of empathy and compassion, where they're coming from, these, where they have transportation, the economics, where they live, family, number of people, age groups. I mean, you name it, there's so many things that our families are dealing with today. And food should really be something that could bring ease and could bring nourishment for them to make better decisions in their life. So lots of empathy, compassion, listening ear, so that we can deal with those emotions that they have, and that will give them the ability to empower them to make those great decisions, and then giving us an opportunity also to educate them on what's best for them. Next, please. With that, my takeaways, consumers are confused, overloaded with mixed messages. We must switch from can I to should I, what's best for me. We need to listen with much attention without speaking, asking the right questions that opens the conversation, and then so that we can be able to share in a very empathetic way. Leading with stories, leading with our shared values, because we all want the best for ourselves, for our families, for the public, the people that we serve. We are totally all wholeheartedly want the best for them as well, and they need to know that. And then we guide them to the resources where they can go, and hopefully, you find information that is in their language, acculturated, and information that really is going to bring the fears, and it's going to increase their knowledge, so they can make the best decisions for them. Next. I want to leave you with some resources here, just 3 that come to top of my mind. Of course, the pesticide calculator, you can find that at safefruitsandveggies.com. The Products for Better Health Foundation has free webinars and with CEUs, fruitsandveggies.org. The Alliance for Food and Farming newsletter, if you can subscribe, brings you great information. And with that, next, please. I want to remain in contact with you. I want to keep this conversation going, and I have left here my social media handles so that you can find me and we can continue this conversation so that we can all strive to do the best, what's best for our public, what's best for us, for our families, and for all of us. And with that, I thank you kindly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Klinger. That was amazing. And Sarah, thank you as well. I know we're going to be sharing this webinar recorded as well. So we did have a couple questions come in the chat box that are directed. Actually, we have a couple for each of you. So without further ado, I'm going to ask. Sarah, this question is for you. So this participant has asked, Sarah, when you talked about sources and credibility, I saw on one of the slides, respondents noted a 59% confidence in consumer groups. Can you define what sort of groups are defined under consumer groups?
We didn't specify in the survey, so this was left to their interpretation. We didn't name any groups.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Sylvia, kind of on a piggybacking that, as a dietitian, what would you define as a consumer group?
Well, I mean, when I think of groups, I think of different age groups, different gender groups, different communities. I mean, that for me, when I think of a group, I think of having a pool of different people with different likes and dislikes and different opinions. And so for me, that's a group. I don't know if I'm in the right track or not, but Sarah, you might want to chime in a little bit more what you define as a group. But in my humble opinion, a group is, you know, when I lead a group, I want the group to be as diverse as possible, perhaps, so that we can together, you know, have a better outcome.
And I think that's why the credibility ratings, they're a little bit more mixed because groups can be defined in different ways that might align more or less with the individual respondent.
Great point from both of you, so thank you. Now, Sylvia, this question is for you. Sylvia, I work with predominantly well-educated women who believe they hear everything peers talking about at their PTA meetings. With confusion consumers face, especially those of lower socioeconomic status regarding consumption of conventional and organic fruits and vegetables, what can we do as dietitians to be part of the change to improve consumption? How would you suggest we tackle a conversation with one of these moms who wants to do what's best for her family, but isn't fully convinced on the trust in our food system?
Great question. Oh, wow. I deal with that every single day because I feel that, you know, they really need a voice out there. And one of the things that, you know, that I like to recommend is really through cooking classes and to really helping people. I think when we gather together at the table, it's when the guards come down and we, you know, cooking together for me. And I remember doing that as a little girl, and that really fueled my love for food because the flavors come together, the colors, the ways that we prepare them, you know, these vegetables that we can now roast them and to bring the flavors up to give that wow moment when we're eating something that is not only tasty, but it's also good for you. And bringing in people, you know, during the pandemic, I just decided on my own one day, it's like, I'm just going to start doing cooking classes and helping people learn how to cook. And I had teenagers come to my door and say, I want to learn how to cook. Most of our people don't know, and when you don't know, you have fear. I think people have very fearful of that skill in the kitchen, and that has precipitated into a fear of everything in the kitchen. So I bring them into the kitchen and I say, you know, let's look at these, you know, let's smell them, let's touch them, let's wait, you know, let's find ways that we can make them taste better. I was a picky eater growing up, and for even my parents for me to eat vegetables, it's a miracle. I don't know when it happened, but it happened someday, you know. So you moms out there that your kids are picky eaters, there's hope out there. There is hope. But I think, you know, teaching kids from an early age in the kitchen, becoming comfortable with, you know, going into the grocery stores and learning about the seasonal fruits and vegetables, and then coming home and and preparing them in ways that are going to be very appealing and still retain their nutrition value. And I even go a step back, because when my kids were little, I will actually sit with them and go through magazines, because I got lots of food magazines because I love to cook now. And then I go through cookbooks, and they will pick things, and we'll put, I mean, they spend hours looking through my cookbooks, and I thought, okay, yeah, take your time. Here's a pile while I did my work. And they will pencil in what they wanted, and then we will pick some of the recipes that they decided that they wanted, and then we make them at home. So I think making people feel comfortable in the kitchen, I think, is the #1 step to bringing those fears and helping people learn a little more about it, so they really have more trust in themselves as well.
I love the way you phrase that too, because, thinking of this question, and I'm just picturing the moms that I hear talking at my child's preschool pickup, and what they're saying about X, Y, and Z that's on sale, and how they're not going to buy it because what they heard from so-and-so on TikTok or whatever it is that I know Sarah has alluded to, where consumers are getting their information as well. But, going back to, if their kids are excited about it because they're choosing it, whether it's from a cookbook or from their mom's Pinterest catalog or wherever it is, and they like that recipe, then the mom most likely is going to be reassured that my kids are eating this. It's kind of that full circle. So thank you so much. Sarah, I know we have plenty of time right now, so I'm going to ask you one more question. This is dialing down a little bit more into the research. So when we talk about the specific platforms, so I know social media, given that's such a big way that people are receiving information in this day and age, what platforms specifically? Because I know, just from being a user of social media and dabbling in different platforms, we have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have all these different age-related platforms for seeking information online. Did that look into the data on what age groups for which platform, or how that was being interpreted from picture messages or anything like that?
Yeah, that wasn't really the focus of this research. So we didn't explore in depth on what platform they were using. The data that I showed you on that is the full extent of the question that we asked about sources.
Okay, and just for preference, I know a lot of the people on this call are actually media dietitians, so I think that's why that one's coming in. But future area for research for us to know as well. Now, if no one has any more questions, then we will absolutely be providing you with your continuing education unit. So please look out for an email from that, and we want to hear from you. Questions, by all means, please feel free to email the Alliance, safefruitsandveggies.com. We would love to hear from you. I know many of you are already subscribed to our newsletter, so thank you so much for attending today, and we look forward to being in touch with you.